Are you looking for a project for kids that goes together quickly? An added plus, this quilt also has a built-in game. The easy beginner blocks in this I Spy quilt can be sewn by hand or by machine. Choosing fabric is fun. Just pick one charm square and one layer cake for each block. Not interested in novelty fabrics? No worries. This pattern looks great in all sorts of fabric. You can also alter the size of the borders and/or the center, or add alternate blocks between the squares. You can find this supply list below along with links to these handouts. This quilt contains 20 9.5-inch blocks, but you can make yours larger or smaller. You'll need 20 novelty charm squares and 20 layer cake solids. Of course, if you'd like to use up your scraps or buy yardage, you'll also find these fabric amounts listed on the supply list. Take one 5-inch square and one 10-inch square. For each block, cut 3 3-inch strips from the 10-inch square, and then cut one of the strips in half to get two 3x5-inch rectangles. Sometimes I like to lay out all my blocks before cutting, as I think it makes it easier to pair up a novelty print with a border, but it's not necessary. If you decide to use scraps for yardage instead of pre-cuts, cut one 3-inch by 45-inch strip. Actually, the strip only has to be about 30 inches long, and then cut one 5-inch square from the novelty fabric. If you don't have access to rotary cutting equipment, use our templates to cut out your shapes. Lay out your block. Put right sides together and pin. I sewed a 1/4-inch seam using red thread so you can see, but you'll want to use a neutral color. Put right sides together, pin, and stitch. Press to the outside edge. Put right sides together, pin, and stitch a 1/4-inch seam. I added both sides and then press towards the outside edge. And here's my completed 10-inch block. If sewing by hand, you want to mark this 1/4-inch seam on the back of the strips. Lay out your block. Put right sides together and pin. Use 2 strands of thread, knot it, and begin stitching on the end. Use small stitches. I like to load a number of stitches on my needle to make it go a little bit faster, but it's okay to sew one stitch at a time. Continue stitching till you get to the end of the line. If you notice your stitches are getting too long, that's okay. Just stitch to the end, turn, and then stitch between each stitch. This will cut your stitch length in half. When you're finished stitching, take a little bite of fabric, make a loop, go inside that loop for your knot. And I like to do it a second time just to make sure. My loop, go inside, and there's my knot. Press, and then continue adding each piece. When all your blocks are complete, lay them out on a table, floor, or design wall. If you haven't already, take a photo of your favorite grouping so you can refer back to it for block placement. Before finalizing your layout, check the direction of the seams on each block. You might want to have all the seams lining up, or try alternating those seams. I chose the latter. This is not necessary, but will give the quilt a more finished look. You'll be sewing in rows. Put right sides together and clip or pin the side that needs to be sewn. Sew 1/4-inch seams and then lay out according to your photo. If sewing by hand, mark one of the 1/4-inch seams and sew. To finish sewing each row, Put right sides together and stitch. Press the seams towards the 10-inch strips. Then sew the rows together. Make sure to match seams. Here's the top. I chose this fabric for the backing as it's loaded with many more novelty images that will add to the I Spy game. Hope you decide to make this I Spy quilt. If you work with a group of kids and want to teach them to sew, this is the project you've been looking for. Have each child make their own needle case to keep their supplies organized. Then let them choose their charm square and border. After sewing their blocks, they can take turns sewing these together, or maybe you can get some parents to help finish the quilt. The finished quilt can be given to a charity or raffled off at a fundraiser. So happy you visited learnhowtoquilt.com. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and share our patterns with your friends. Don't forget to click on the bell to get alerts for new videos. And also sign up for updates and free patterns at our website. Thanks.